Welcome to Urban Knife Guy, where we explore the urban knife style and jungle survival. Today we're going to review the 8-inch Duku Candong from MYParang. MYParang is based out of Penang, located in the western side of Peninsula, Malaysia. But the parangs are made by a well-known blacksmith in Bidor, Perak, which is a central eastern state in Peninsula, Malaysia. This Duku Candong is very close in design to traditional Duku Candong but has some elements of modern construction. This is also modeled after the MYParang, which is based on a Duku Candong. If you want to learn all about the different types of parang styles, do check out my video on the introduction to modern Malaysian parangs in the link in the card above or the description below. MYParang makes a wide variety of parangs, but for their Duku Candong specifically, they offer an 8-inch, 10-inch and 12-inch version. This parang has an 8-inch blade. Let's first talk about the blade. The blade is 8 inches long and has a sheep's foot style blade head. And as with all the traditional Duku Candongs, it's got a very pronounced curved blade that is wider in the front. The blade steel is 5160 high carbon steel. 5160 is a low-end alloy spring steel, high in carbon and chromium. It is a very tough steel with high impact resistance. It is used for swords, large knives, the automotive industry and leaf spring. It is an ideal steel for a parang. I believe this is recycled steel, as with many of the production parangs. The blade is hand-forged and hammered, as evidenced by the black markings on the blade. Here's the iconic Bidor cross sword brand mark etched onto the blade. Bidor is known for the excellent heat treatment, and they heat treat to achieve differential or zone hardening. That means the different parts of the blade has different hardness. You want the spine hard for strength, but the blade and handle less hard but tougher, so it does not chip or break. Product description I have read says the edge is hardened to 55 to 60 HRC. 60 seems on the high side for a parang, so I'd assume it is closer to 55. The grind is a convex grind, which is common for parangs. This is similar to the grind on axes to be an effective cutting tool. The blade was very sharp out of the box, and I did not need to touch it up. The width of the blade is 2.5 inches at its widest point, and the blade thickness is 6 mm, which is on the thicker side for parangs in general. As with traditional parangs, the base of the blade is unsharpened. This is so that you can choke up on the knife for finer work like carving or feather sticking. The blade construction is stick tang or a rat tail tang. That means the end of the blade tapers down to a narrow tail and extends about 3 inches into the handle. There is a copper collar at the neck with the MYParang logo, and under the collar there's a 2.5 mm thick brass retaining pin that goes through the handle and the blade. This is a safety feature so that if the stick tang goes loose, the blade will not fly out of the handle. I discussed the parang stick tang construction in a previous video that you can watch in the link in the card above or description below. The handle, or hulu in Malay, is made from beech wood imported from Croatia. It is 6.5 inches long, and the overall length of the parang is 14.5 inches. The handle is not varnished and is a slightly rough texture, which makes it very grippy. It almost feels like a light piece of pumice rock, which is volcanic rock. So it's a really nice handle, great ergos, and the color's really nice as well. Let's see how heavy this parang is. So the weight of the parang is about 395 grams, and in ounces, that's 13.93 ounces. All MYParang parangs come with a high quality nylon sheath that has their logo embroidered on it. This sheath design follows the style of a traditional wood sheath in the way that the parang sits inside and the overall design and shape. There is some kind of rigid boning in the sheath, which makes it quite hard and holds the shape well. I assume it must be some kind of a plastic inside, or it could be maybe folded wood sheet, but I doubt so. The leather has a simple nylon velcro handle strap, and this is attached to the belt loop, so it's stitched on right there. And this belt loop itself is made from the same material as car seat belts, so it's very strong. There are horizontal straps or molly webbing so that you can secure the sheath through a molly system to a pack or a belt. Now I will share my thoughts on this 8-inch Duku Candong. I should highlight that my review is from the perspective of a hiker, camper and bushcrafter, not as a farmer or gardener who have different needs. I chose the 8-inch Candong as I wanted a lightweight parang that would be easy to carry for hikes. I also view the parang as an all-purpose primary knife in a 2 or 3 knife system, so it has to be manageable to use practically. Overall, the build quality of the parang is excellent. The fit and finish is really good and neat. You typically do not see this sort of quality and attention to detail for production parangs in Malaysia. So I'm talking about just the smoothness of the grind, the feel of the blade, the color itself and how it's polished and fitted onto the handle, the epoxy that's fit in, very neat and flush as well, and the handle very well sculpted. And you can see aesthetically this looks really good. MYParang raised the bar in this respect, and other parangs have also upped their game to improve their finish. Due to the thick blade and the blade design, this parang is a fantastic chopper. It is front heavy and fairly heavy overall, so cuts and chops very well. The handle is well shaped. It is on the thicker side, so if you have very small hands, you might find it hard to grip or use for an extended period as your hand will fatigue faster. But the swell towards the end ensures the parang will not slide off your hand when you chop. Now comes my main complaints. My main complaints about this Duku Candong is the unsharpened area at the base of the blade. Now there's nothing wrong with the finish, and you can even use it to strike a ferro rod to light tinder to make a fire. However, the unsharpened length is just way too much. Now notice the balance point of the parang. So it's somewhere there. Now the sharpened blade should actually start just after the balance point, which should be about here. But you can see it's about 1.5 inches away. Now, currently, this entire length, which is about 3 inches, is left unsharpened. Now, that leaves only a usable blade length of 5 inches, or maybe 6 inches if you consider the entire curved blade. But this is supposed to be an 8-inch blade, and having only 5 inches of sharpened blade is not ideal. The blade should start to be sharp around here, around this point, and that will be an additional 1.5 inches of sharpened blade for a total of 6.5 inches out of an 8-inch blade. I think that's still acceptable. Now I could solve this by bringing it to a knife sharpener to grind out the blade and adjust the sharpening length, but it should not be necessary for such a higher end parang. Now here's another gripe I have about this parang, and this could be just me personally, but I do not like the sheath, even though it is very well made. I don't like sheaths where the knives rattle inside, right? I like a secure fit, and I also don't find the handle strap secure, or at least you have to be very careful in securing it tightly. So you need to make sure this is really tight. If not, if it's even slightly loose, right? Especially if you're in the field and this is on your belt, and you after you use it, and if you're constantly putting in and out, you just kind of close that Velcro tab. But if you don't put it very securely, there's a risk of that dropping. Now, it may not drop out completely, but you can see the blade is actually cutting into the nylon strap. So you really have to put this in and be very particular about making sure this is very tight. Then you probably will have it better in the sheath. So that's something I don't really like about the parang in terms of, the sheath and the unsharpened portion of the blade that I mentioned. Now, if you're looking for a chopping parang that is compact and efficient, you probably cannot find any Duku Candong better than this one. Although you have to note the short cutting length of the blade. The parang will work for all general camping and bushcraft tasks. The fit and finish is very good, and it can even serve as a collector's item if you don't use it in the field. The price of this 8-inch parang is 270 ringgit, which is roughly US 67.50. The 10-inch version costs 285 ringgit, which is roughly 71 US dollars. And the 12-inch version costs 295 ringgit, which is about US $74. There's also a heavy version of the 12-inch, which I believe has a thicker blade, and that goes for 310 ringgit, which is about US 77.50. By local standards, this will be considered an expensive high-end production parang in Malaysia. I think it is still reasonably priced for the fit and finish and build quality, especially if compared to international pricing standards. But if you don't like the sheath and need to custom make a kydex or leather sheath, then that will add to the overall cost. I'll provide links to the dealers that carry the MYParang parangs in the video description below, and you can check out if they will ship to your country if you're not in Malaysia. I hope you enjoyed this review of the MYParang Duku Candong. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more parang reviews and videos on tropical jungle survival, do subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.